Hi, welcome to Take 5, where we daily consider devotional thoughts from Oswald Chambers' book, My Utmost for His Highest. Today is December 10th, and the title of today's devotional is The Offering of the Natural. It is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondwoman and the other by a free woman, Galatians 4, verse 22. Chambers today uses as his illustration an Old Testament event found in Genesis chapters 16 and 21. And if you aren't familiar with it, then this lesson makes less sense. Abraham was the founding patriarch of the Hebrews, the Jews. His wife was Sarah, and the two remained childless until late in life. To resolve the matter, Sarah offered Abraham her servant Hagar by which to have a child. She does bear a son, Ishmael. With the birth of the son for Abraham, Hagar starts giving bad attitude towards Sarah. Abraham tells his wife to fix the situation as she sees fit, and with the way Sarah treats Hagar, the servant decides to take her child and leave. God, though, tells her to return to being Sarah's servant. Later on, Isaac was born to Abraham and Sarah. Ishmael starts making fun of his younger half-brother, and this time Sarah told her husband to kick the two out into the desert. Abraham did so, and while in the desert, God provided water and sustenance and prophecy regarding Ishmael's future. That's the background to the focal verse and today's lesson. Dr. Chambers begins, Paul was not dealing with sin in this chapter of Galatians, but with the relation of the natural and the spiritual. The natural can be turned into the spiritual only through sacrifice. In the lesson from the December 9th, O.C. taught us the natural life is not spiritual, and it can only be made spiritual through sacrifice. Sacrifice means the giving up of good for that which is best. If we do not purposely sacrifice the natural, the supernatural can never become natural to us. Abraham had to give up Ishmael, for Hagar's son was not God's plan for the patriarch. He had to make the sacrifice of the natural so to gain the spiritual. Chambers teaches us that without sacrifice, a person will lead a divided life. That would be descriptive of most Christians, living a dual life, trying to please God and themselves at the same time. They don't want to sacrifice self so to fully satisfy God. O.C. says the only way we can offer a spiritual sacrifice to God is to present our bodies a living sacrifice. We must give up self so to gain God. This is not understood by in most of today's churches. Chambers makes it clear sanctification means more than being freed from sin. It means the deliberate commitment of myself to the God of my salvation and being willing to pay whatever it may cost. That is such a huge disparity from what's being preached today, which is a message of all gain with no giving up of self. If we do not sacrifice the natural to the spiritual, Chambers explains, the natural life will resist and defy the life of the Son of God in us and will produce turmoil. This is always the result of an undisciplined spiritual nature. The unhappy Christian is the product of not giving self fully and completely to God. There remains areas which are held back. O.C. says we go wrong because we stubbornly refuse to discipline ourselves physically, morally, or mentally. When you allow forms of ungodliness to remain in your life, you will never find the satisfaction, the peace, the joy that God has for you. O.C. rightly says we excuse ourselves by saying, well, I wasn't taught to be disciplined when I was a child. Then discipline yourself right now. If you don't, you will ruin your entire personal life for God. This is one of those Chambers gems. He's barking at us, calling us on the table when we say, if I'd been raised better, then I would be a better person now. You are ruining your personal life with God with such shoddy excuses. God changes people now, but He won't, as Chambers says, as long as we continue to pamper and gratify ourselves. We must be willing, as happened with Ishmael, to be put out as a sacrifice in the desert. It was there that God blessed him and promised to make him a great nation of him. You don't have any idea of what God can and will do for you, to you, and with you until you sacrifice your personal life, your natural life, your godless life to Him, giving all of yourself to God. God doesn't work with partial quantities. He wants all of you. Only you and He know where you're holding back. With that lack of full satisfaction you're experiencing and a hunger for real joy, why not give over fully to Him today? Thanks for being here today. Now may God's grace and peace be ours as we seek to live our utmost for His highest. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye now. Thanks.